On Wednesday afternoon, a storm came over the Helena area and Canyon Ferry Lake that caused a boat to sink. Officials say swells created by the storm swamped the boat and caused it to go under. Where one Helena woman did exactly that. The phone fell into the vault toilet and she assumed it was lost. That was until the sanitation company that cleans out the toilet found it. December 16th was a historic day for a handful of St. Peter's Health Regional Medical Center employees as they got their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. This woman pictured here, Julie Petrie, was the first person to receive their first dose. But back in the day, it wasn't always Julie Petrie. It was
Julie Brown. Julie Brown for three. Julie Brown. Julie Brown. That's why they call her downtown Julie Brown.
Special Olympics Montana athletes and law enforcement officers have teamed up for the annual Tip-A-Cop fundraiser event at McKenzie River Pizza. And the Intertribal Buffalo Council announced today that it will transfer 40 Yellowstone bison to 16 Native American tribes in 9 states. The transfer is part of a partnership between the ITBC and the Fort Peck, Assiniboine, and Sioux tribes. Shodair Children's Hospital is preparing for their fall semester with school-based services. MTN's Alexia Aguayo spoke with the hospital about how they plan to provide remote instruction for their students. The life of an adult amateur athlete is not an easy one. Pairing a job that nets next to no pay, a full-time job that pays the bills, hobbies, a family life. At the end of it all, it might seem like there's not enough hours in the day.
You pick and choose your moments, and you pick and choose them wisely and cross your fingers and hope that you're making the right choice.
Chris the Honeybee Wagner is the top-ranked amateur flyweight mixed martial artist in Montana. And the nickname the Honeybee isn't a misnomer. Wagner is a full-time beekeeper in Montana who helps operate about 18,000 colonies commercially.
I love the job. I think there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of science. You really have to use your brain. You really have to use your body. It's the perfect gig for me. I get to sit out here in this beautiful country that we get to call home.
A whole hive is also similar to the way that Wagner attributes his prowess on the amateur circuit. Wagner, a Townsend native, has been a combat sports athlete for nearly 2 decades, dating back to grade school when he found his way to the wrestling mats, and from there, the success was almost immediate.
Next thing you know, we're just 8-year-old kids traveling to Reno, traveling to Iowa City to go do these national tournaments and doing well. Just this little tiny town from Montana.
Now removed from his time as a wrestler at 27 years old, Wagner is trying to make a name for himself again, this time in the octagon.
I love all the aspects. I love training. I love cutting weight, which is crazy. You know, nobody loves to cut weight, but I just love it. It's a lifestyle, and if you're not willing to live the lifestyle, being a wrestler, being a boxer, being an MMA artist is not something that you're going to do.
Wagner's race to the top is also a race against the clock. With a family he loves dearly and other things he'd like to do in his life, Wagner knows there will be a time when he'll have to give up MMA. But until then,
I guess undecided is the answer to that question. I love to do it. I don't want to stop doing it, but I do have to think about my kids and my family at some point.
And much like a honeybee drawn to a wildflower, Wagner is drawn to his love of combat sports.
It's what we do. It's what we live. And I just think there's no getting away from it once it snatches you up. And here I am, 20 years later, still, I just can't help myself.
Now for some, roller skating may be a leisure activity, but for the Hells Bells, a flat track roller derby team from Helena, lacing up a pair of skates opens up a rough and tumble world which they take on head first, and do so with a group of women they call family.
I've met people that have been in it for years, even they retired and then came back years later. So it's like a good pair of socks.
Roller derby is in a league of its own. A rough and rowdy sport that pits women on roller skates against each other in a physical battle of wits. And the camaraderie found amongst these skaters is, to many, like a family. Or a good pair of socks.
I mean, we have such a wide array of different people on our team. Like we have a second grade teacher, and then we have a whole bunch of state workers, which could say something for state workers. But then we have just all kinds of different personalities that comes into derby. And I think the reason the family sticks with it is because you find you're weird.
Those skaters come from various backgrounds. According to Shirley, whose derby name is Shirley Temper, skaters seem to have one thing in common.
Derby is kind of weird if you really get into it and you get to know the people that are in it, because they're all fantastically weird in our own strange ways. We all always felt like we'd never fit in with like the normal sports or the normal things, or we had different interests, and all of a sudden you find this group of people who were like, I really want to be tough and I want to do full contact, and it's kind of strange, and we're not angry, but we also just really like to play rough sports.
And even though the sport may be rough, head coach Christy Fortman, also known as Bambi Boozled, says that having an open line of communication with everyone is something that fosters a positive environment.
You know, it's a hard sport. And it's a huge time commitment. Like, you have to be supportive of one another, or it won't function. We've always tried to cultivate a positive vibe by just, you know, if anybody has an issue, we talk about it. Really good open communication. That's probably the best way to do it. Just being really honest and open with each other, not holding things in. And you get a lot of that out on the track.
The Hells Bells and the Electric City Roller Girls will get things rocking and rolling on Saturday at 6 at the Helena Ice Arena. Now, for more information about that, be sure to check out our story on MontanaSports.com.